Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Christine Courtney. Our goal here is to give you some actionable takeaways that will help you lead your teams. Thanks for joining us on this leadership journey. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Leadership Studio. I'm excited to have Greg Shamie, my partner in crime here, back in the studio. Welcome, Greg.
Hi, Christine. How you doing today?
Good. We're talking about one of your favorite topics, Coach Shamie. Today, we are talking about none other than the transformational benefits of coaching or having a coach. And the reason that I invited Greg today to be our guest is because he does coaching, leadership coaching, life coaching, executive coaching, soccer coaching, tennis coaching. I don't even know. I'll just keep going. Friend coaching to so many people. And I hear constantly accolades from our clients about the work that Greg does. And so I invited him because I'm going to put him on the spot a little bit to talk a little bit about that process and also to find out, like, if you're out there going, should I get a coach? Is it worth it? Do I need it? Why can't I do this myself? All of those things. Greg's here to shed some light on it. So that being said, I was looking up, Greg, some data, which is crazy. Like, a lot of people today have coaches. So if you're in the workplace and you're struggling or you're wondering about, like, why is my career not growing, or why am I consistently not getting the kind of performance reviews I want or the kind of positive attention I want from my organization, and other people are growing at faster rates, they may be having a coach and you don't even know it. Like, the amount of numbers was staggering. And certainly we get a lot of requests to help folks, whether it's from organizations or people directly coming to us, because it's a relatively low cost thing for a large ROI. The return on investment on coaching is, I think PwC said something like sevenfold of the cost of a coach compared to what it can do for the person and for the organization. So that being said, let's dig into a little bit about the why and the how. So Greg, I'm going to ask you, what are the top 5 things that people come to you for coaching on, would you say?
Well, very interesting introduction, Christine. Very interesting indeed. Top 5 things that people come to us for coaching. Okay.
Are you stalling right now, Greg?
No. I mean, I like to grasp the question, so thank you so much for asking it. First thing comes up is communication. And that is the big C, as they say, the big bucket that holds everything. And communication is huge. So I would say that's one. I'd say emotional intelligence and self-awareness would be another bucket that people come to us to try and improve, increase, better, understand how to manage, especially other people's emotions. But of course, it starts with our own and being able to manage our own, identify and manage our own. So that's a really interesting topic. And that whole self-awareness topic is huge. So that's 2 buckets. 3, I'd say decision-making and strategic thinking. So a lot of times just getting another view on it and being able to pick it apart from many different angles and strategically break it down on how best to attack it is something that we definitely get a lot of. I'd say leadership development is huge, and style. What is my style and how does it work with other styles, and how does it not work with other styles, and what do I have to do in order to help understand, my strengths, my styles, my areas for growth, and how I approach meeting other people's needs, I think is huge. And then I'd say the 5th one is, and I was thinking about this when you were introing, because you were saying a lot of times people want to elevate, in their careers. Why is she getting the promotion and I'm not? Well, maybe she has a coach, but it's also like managing stress and anxiety, and the amount of energy efficiency. Like, how am I actually working through my day in an effective and easygoing way, even if it's high stress, high pressure, and intense situations?
I love it. Okay. I wrote those down so I can ask you more follow-up questions about it. So if you're out there listening, you want to know more about what those mean, I wrote those down so I can ask him. I just wanted to give you the things that I get the most when I get into coaching conversations. 1, confidence building. So fascinating how many people need confidence building. So either their bosses have sent them to us to give them that magic pill. The second one, I agree, communication, whether that's with another employee, with a boss, with the clients, how to get better at those things, how to calm some of those troubles that conflict that might be there. Career growth, for sure. Presentation skills, Greg. Big one. We get a lot of people saying, I got somebody who's a great employee, but they need work on their presentation skills. And I always send them to Shamie because you're the best, dude.
Thank you. Yep. Presentation skills, huge. And also for like people who are pitching to clients, we get a ton of folks wanting to get better at pitch practice. Yep.
I actually had one of our big clients come up to me and praise you by saying, like, he's getting, I don't even remember, it was like multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars more in sales just because his pitch was getting so much better based on the work you did. So good job if I had never told you.
Thank you.
But anyway, presentation skills, sometimes it comes with this word that people throw around, which is executive presence. Sometimes they come to me and say, like, I got this in my review. We did an episode on executive presence with Blanca a little while back. And then I would say the last one is this idea of like kind of just they want a work therapist. And I was like, we're not a therapist, but that's how they think of it. Young people today, especially, and they want to be able to work hard, but they really want to be good at their life. And they don't know how, like you said, to manage all of the stress and be productive and produce at the levels they need to. And also figure out how to have fun with their friends and meet people and so forth. Especially it seems to be after COVID that there seems to be, hard times getting out of that basement. Right?
Yeah, I firmly agree and actually had that thought before you said it. But post-COVID is a completely different world. And I feel that work therapist piece is huge because the line is very thin. The line is very thin between work and life.
And trust me, if you feel like you're dancing on it and you start to tip your toe over, we say, you know what, I think maybe you should look into getting a therapist. Have you ever thought about that? Because there are things that we are not qualified to do, for sure. But they want to be able to talk through things. There's a comfortability in young people today, I find, with really wanting to talk through their issues in a way that maybe my generation or our generation, Greg, never really did. So,
well, that's a really interesting piece because, the coaching session can flow so much easier if the coachee is wanting to talk and share and be vulnerable, obviously. But that's part of our job also as an effective coach, is to create a dynamic, a relationship with trust where they feel they can do that. But in terms of generational, I think with the older folks in general, people our age, I think it may be a little harder. And so again, great coaching becomes about great question asking and getting them to, ponder, reflect, and then express, and then taking those kernels and being able to apply them specifically to the person's journey so that they have aha moments and can really go, okay, that was awesome. I didn't know that this was going to come out of this interaction.
How often would you say that the coaching you do is people themselves wanting it or their companies wanting it for them?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think
average.
Yeah, I'd say it's a lot of times they've been put into the situation where we've been introduced as a coach to support them. I'd say that would be more often the case. Which is I love because, again, it's all about how you frame things. And, I'm a huge fan of organizations that want to develop their most important asset, right? Their most important resource. And so that's why I get lit up about coaching because, if someone wants to keep getting better, if someone wants to continue learning, even if they're the high level CEO, COO, CFO, you name it, if they're still open to learning, then we have a great opportunity to take it to places it's never been.
So the people who maybe haven't done it before, give us an insight into like maybe one of your clients and one of the things that you worked on with them or how that process went and kind of what some of the outcomes that maybe that person had, like a specific thing, even though it's different, obviously, person to person.
Okay, well, the first one that's coming up is in my head is just the manager level person who, again, has gone from being a very good, effective player on the field, doing the day-to-day, and then gets a promotion, and then suddenly is in the role where they have direct reports reporting to them, and they have to be an effective leader of people. And so totally different than being a skill-based performer. And so that person sometimes has never been trained in how to lead people effectively. And so it becomes a really exciting relationship for me because I get to hear about what's driving them nuts, what's stopping them in their tracks as they try and continue playing in the game and on the field, but now they have to lead, a team of 2, 3, 4, 5 people. And so that to me is a fascinating equation. And I love being able to share tactics, tips, strategies that are going to help them connect with the people they're leading, understand the people they're leading, each one being a different equation and needing to, almost have those equations up in front of you as you interact and work with each of them to make sure that person is engaged and heard and seen and valued and feeling good. Because if I'm feeling good about being in the workplace, guess what? I'm going to produce. Right? So it becomes a win-win for everybody. But most people don't feel good in the workplace.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our producer, Greg, you don't even know this. This is hot off the press here, but our producer, Tatiana Dominguez, had a fantastic idea. And we're going to start a series coming up of different episodes where we're combining how to use the situational leadership model, right? As far as how to coach when people are at certain levels, right? Or certain situations, mixed with the social styles and versatility model, so that you're also looking at, is someone a driver? Is someone an analytic? Is someone an expressive, and so forth, and how to put that on top of it and really know, here's some specific coaching things that you can try when you're managing somebody who's at this level and is this type of person, right?
Yes.
Which started to come up yesterday when I was working with somebody who was saying, listen, I know you tell me that the best way or when I'm learning these models or these frameworks and I'm looking at where my person might be, then maybe this person is a disillusioned learner at the moment and overwhelmed and needs a tremendous amount of support and coaching and you got this, you can figure it out. This is how much you've grown, even though you haven't noticed it, blah, 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 blah. They knew how to do that. But the problem is their boss was saying, you're being too soft on them. You got to be harder on them. Their boss was a driver. Right. And so then he said, I don't know how to convince my boss to give me time to go back and support this employee differently. So that's when we started to go, well, if your boss is a driver, this person is amiable. I said, then you have to start to look at how do you go into your boss and convince him in a driver way? So you're talking in bullets, you're staccato, you focused on results. Give me 4 months. This is what you'll see. If we went outside and we started over with this person, it would take us 6 months to get somebody up and running. It would cost us more. And then see if you can convince him using that method so that you can coach so that's coaching up, so it's always a matter of all of this stuff it's just so deep in terms of all the stuff you could possibly learn. So we're going to stretch ourselves and help each other kind of learn more about that. So if you're out there listening and you want to be even more prepared for those conversations that we're going to start to have, go back and listen to the sessions and the episodes that we just did around situational leadership and around social styles and versatility. Because I think the meshing of those two, plus even working genius, putting all those things together, it shows you how these assessments that we love to do, right? We love to do them, how they can live on past just one day. It's not one and done. It's how do we really use these to coach ourselves and each other? So anyway, that's just a little teaser of what's coming up, Greg.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. I think it's great. And, just being able to connect those dots and be able to, if I am a driver, expand beyond just my strengths there and be able to meet people where they're at and talk their language that lights them up. I mean, that becomes pretty exciting for that person that, hey, my boss is talking in a way that's actually really resonating for me.
I had somebody yesterday say to me, I realized after doing that social styles that my boss isn't just a jerk. He's actually just focused on results, and I need to stop coming at it with that in my head because it's affecting how I relate to him. And I'm like, yeah, that's self-awareness, right? So those are the kinds of conversations that a coach can put a mirror up to you and say, wait a minute, is this person really a jerk, or is there something beyond this? Is there something that you could change or adjust? Because you can't change your boss a lot of times, right?
I mean, that's huge for the coaching relationship too, is just expanding perspective. And like we were saying earlier, being able to see something from multiple angles that maybe you haven't seen. And so our job as coaches becomes about listening, really listening. And I learned this from John Schuster, who I did some of my coaching training with, who's one of the best coaches I've ever dealt with. He really listens so deeply until there's an opening. opening, and then he finds the opening, and then he opens it, and he does it in a way that really is very impactful for the coachee, because the coachee is, you're getting the coachee to share, and then that moment then gets highlighted by the coach, and then suddenly you dig into it, you uncover it, and then you look at what could you do differently in that situation to make it better, and you strategically come up with ideas for them to try that are going to help them. So it doesn't matter what category it is. To me, that becomes like the essence of really effective coaching, is this deep listening, question asking, and then being able to dig into that and come away with actionable things to go after.
Yeah, that somebody then holds you accountable the next time you see them, so that,
yes,
we're all pretty good at setting some goals, and then, if you don't talk to anybody about it or meet with them regularly, they can slip away. And so that's why we see a lot of career growth with people who have coaches, because not only are they working on their emotional intelligence and leadership or communication skills, inevitably what starts to happen is you work on goals and results orientation, and then we start to see career growth, which is what a lot of people want, right? There's more fiscally, more money, more emotional growth, more opportunities to lead. What's a good story of someone that you've coached in the past and some sort of transformation that you've seen in them?
It's very interesting because each one is a very strong, impressionable story that I think of. Every person I get to work with, collaborate with, coach, has these turning points that are great stories. The one I'm thinking of right now is someone who was excellent at their job, in their role, was able to go from what I was saying, being a great person on the ground, to leading people effectively. They light up the room with not only their intellect, but their charisma and their ability to motivate and inspire through communication. And where I came in was, okay, so now what? Was the question. Like, where do you want to go? So it was vision forward for this person, and we worked on.
Let's give him a name, or her name. Like, just make up a name so we can.
Sammy.
Okay.
I don't know why that came up. So Sammy,
really?
Sammy was was trying to figure out what could she continue to grow in, and where could she possibly go? How could she impact on a bigger level? And so what we did was, in our sessions, we would go back into the past, and we would examine the high points and the low points of the journey to the present, and we would start to uncover all these superpowers that she had, and these unbelievable wake up aha moments of, I can't believe I went through that and I overcame it. And suddenly I could see like this energy coming to her, that like through the sessions as we worked on this, that was pretty incredible, where she didn't even realize how incredible she was. And I guess that's one of the goals as a coach, is to help you see how many incredible things you have and that you bring to your interactions. And when she started to see that, then we could then go from the present to the future and start to map out what she would like to happen and how she could build towards making that happen. In a 5-year, 3-year, 1-year plan, and then break it down into let's go after X this month, X next month, XYZ, right? And once you can help someone break it down, then they can go for it. And then, like you said, you can have an accountability partner with us, and we help you move it forward.
What I love about that is really that is what's building confidence, right? Because I do get a lot of people who just say, they tell me I need to be more confident, or especially women, to be honest. And what I love about what you just said in Sammy's story is that that's what you were enabling in her, is you were saying, let's look back at times when you have been confident, when you have been able to overcome things, when you look at what you've done. And that starts to build that kind of resilience and confidence in somebody of like, oh yeah, you're right. Because we often don't give ourselves enough credit for things that we've done, right? Because confidence is just meaning that you just need to be able to have some courage in certain moments.
And trust yourself, and actually know, like actually acknowledge what you've accomplished in all the years, whatever they are, whether they're 20, 25, 40, 60, right? What have you actually been able to manage through and succeed to get to this point? And so there's so many riches in that.
You're a great coach, I think, even internally for us. Sometimes I'll tease and call you Coach Shamie and stuff, and you're coaching your daughters. I hear you with your family. You're constantly in coach mode. But I was curious, like, that probably means to me that you've had some great coaches in your life and probably some bad coaches as well. But I was curious if there's some moment, some transformational moment you've had personally with a coach at some point in your life that kind of instilled something in you that made you maybe want to do that for others?
My cousin Carl.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was in love with baseball more than anything. I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I would eat, sleep, drink baseball 24/7. And Carl, my cousin, who was 10 years older than me, was a incredibly brilliant, intellectually smart, tactical baseball fanatic coach. And he took me under his wing, and I had the most incredible experience under him because he not only, so he had knowledge, right? He had the ability to help me build my skills, my hitting skills, my pitching skills, my ability to become a better infielder, running, everything. Like, he's taught me the skills, but that wasn't the most important thing. What he was this believer in me. Right? He believed in me because I was committed to the learning process. So I think that's why I actually love anyone who's committed to and open to learning. I get excited to work with because I'm like, this is so cool because it's limitless what can happen in that relationship. And he did that for me. He believed in me, and he gave me such a belief in myself by the way he talked to me, the way he communicated with me, the way he uplifted me, never deflated me. I use that language a lot. You know, when you're communicating, are you uplifting the person? Are you illuminating the person, or are you deflating them? Even if your intention is not to take their energy away or depress them, are you? And it doesn't matter if I think I am. You can pick it up with your emotional intelligence if you are. But even if your emotional intelligence isn't able to pick it up, the most important thing is, what are they feeling when you are sharing information with them? How is it making them feel? Right? And so he made me feel like a giant. And I played like a giant, even though I was only 5'7.5". I was a pitcher, so I was hanging from the closet trying to become 6 feet because they didn't scout anyone under 6 feet. But I would run. I would try and get my legs strong. My technique was incredible. I threw 85 miles an hour, but I couldn't get over 90 miles an hour because I was only 5'7.5", and I just couldn't get more speed.
That half is very important. That came from the closet. That hanging from the closet. I'll never forget that. I've never heard that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I think that who doesn't need somebody in their corner, right? Illuminating and highlighting them and the great parts of us. I think that's really important. Curious, you know, you said something about you really like the way that the people who are committed to learning, right? And that those are the folks. How do people, like, let's say there's people out there listening that are debating or thinking, you know, should I get a coach? Is it worth it? Is it what? Like, if they do, what do they need to be prepared with? Like, what's the best situation? How do they get the most out of it? How do they transform the most? How do they learn the most? How do they come into those sessions?
Well, first of all, to the flip side, which is really important, like, if you're not coming to the coaching relationship because you want to and you're being put in it, usually you are like, okay, I'm in trouble, or I'm sucking, I'm not doing well. Obviously, that's why they're getting me a coach. So is this person going to make it worse for me? Right? That's the beginning part. Like, our brains are always trying to figure out, is this safe or is this a threat? Right? And so for me, the first thing is, obviously, with the leadership who is hiring us to come on, is to say that this is something to build, like, to frame it positively. Like, this is something to help you do what you already do well and make it better. Right? So that strength-based approach. So framing it. But then also, when we meet, listening to you is the most important thing. Like, tell me about what you do. Who do you lead? Who do you work with? What are the things that weigh on you? What are your challenges? Like, finding out what is actually going on with you in the workplace. And then as we build relationship, again, that line becomes very thin. How does that cross over? Because I get a lot of work happens where the crossover happens, and one impacts the other. So you have to acknowledge that, right? And it's super important. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, well, I think that you're very good at recognizing how important people's feelings are. And that is sometimes uncomfortable in the workplace. So there have been moments where I have wanted to push through to, okay, what are you guys thinking? What's going on? And you're like, whoa. Like, hold on, Christine, like, let's attend to, like, what's the feeling that's bubbling up right now? what people don't realize is that feelings are so much more powerful and they affect us and our behavior so much more than our thoughts do. And the problem is we skip over them all the time. And I think one of the things that you do really well as a coach is you hold that time and that space for really questioning and letting people go, what's going on? What's the feeling going on? And then the thought patterns start to shift and change. And I think that that's something that people are surprised about often when they go into the coaching process, because
Yeah.
we think that it's just going to be a very top of mind kind of exercise. Like, okay, these are my goals. This is what I want to work on. How are you going to help me get there? When in fact that happens, but it's oftentimes like, what's the feelings going on?
Yeah, for sure. And, scaffolding that so that it's not too intense too quickly, right? So starting off light and really just framing things like, I'm here to support you. I'm here to let's look at what you're doing well. Let's look at the successes. Like that's how we build, right? Is through the good things. And then we can look at the more challenging things and then start to come up with strategic attack on that. That's really it in a nutshell. And I think about people who are completely resistant and are like, why do I have to do this? And I love those people because they become a challenge to me and it becomes transformational. That's why it's transformational, because they go from this to, and then suddenly they're sharing and then they're ahaing and then you're like, what? This is amazing. And I'm getting uplifted and inspired. When a coaching goes well, I'm leaving the call going, that was awesome. Not because I was awesome, but because they had an experience that impacted me and it gave me a dopamine hit.
Yeah, that synergy is exciting.
Yeah.
And I think that like that has been funny. Like you could take the grumpiest people. I mean, sometimes the companies send Greg the people who are really good at getting results, but maybe they're not keeping their people, or their people are like, this guy's a jerk or whatever. And they'll send him to Greg to make them, less of a jerk. And I sit there and go, oh my God, I would not want that challenge. And inevitably it takes 1 or 2 sessions and those guys completely see that there's a different way to be with people and they become happier, right? It's fascinating.
I actually have a specific example of a tech person who was, again, same kind of idea where they were amazing at what they did technically in technology, and then they were promoted and then had people reporting to them. And in the coaching sessions, it was revealed as we built a relationship that I don't like people and I don't want to lead people. I just want to work with computers. I am a tech person and people are not, they're very abstract. I like linear, yes, no, right? And so it was fascinating and to learn about this person and then to help them expand their viewpoint and look at people management totally differently and how it could connect to being a father and having kids and how those communication techniques you're learning with the people who are your direct reports could help you with your kids.
Wow.
And I mean, again, transformational because it's not just work, but it's impacting partner, impacting children, impacting every interaction. So for me, those kind of stories where you go from, I don't want to do this to, oh my goodness, I never thought this could be, are the most incredible experiences. And life-changing. And the other thing that comes to mind, because I know we have to bring this to a close, is my goal is to get you to coach yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I only have 6 sessions, that's obviously much harder. But if we have 25 sessions, then we can get to a point where, okay, on the 26th session, we're not going to have it. And you're going to do what we would do.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Sustainability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we put ourselves out of business in that way, and that's the goal, is that people can do this themselves. Okay, because we have to end with some tips, because there's some folks out there who'll be very mad at me if we don't. We're just gonna go back and forth a few times with a couple of tips on how people can come to these sessions to get the most out of them, right? And I'll start so you can think about it. One thing I think is that you need to be prepared with what your goals are. What do you want to get out of this coaching process? And even if they change, it's good to have a list to bring to your coach of, these are the things that I'm most interested in. And don't be afraid to be really honest and put things that might be a little crazy or that are dreams that you wouldn't tell other people. That would be my one. What's yours?
Good. Come to the session wanting to learn and being willing to reflect. And I think reflecting back and getting understanding through what I've been through is such a huge, great starting point. And so if you're willing to look back and highlight some moments, turning points, compression points that were difficult, then suddenly we can start to see things on how you dealt with it. And then we can start to see areas that we can build.
Yeah, absolutely. My next tip would be to have a notebook, either physical notebook or in your computer or on your phone, where you're taking notes, just like you would with a class. This is a class in you. And so how do you prepare for those? How do you look back at those before the next one? How afterwards? Because sometimes things don't hit you in the moment, but they'll hit you later when you go back and look at those notes. Even if it's a year later and you're not even doing the coaching process, do yourself a favor and take some notes in some capacity during either beforehand or afterwards or during.
Love it.
You have another one?
Yeah, sure. As we work towards the end of the session, I usually go, okay, so what did you get from this session? What's resonating for you? And what do you want to put into action? And then they say it out loud, and I write it down and hold it until our next meeting. So really come to the sessions wanting to be actionable, and then wanting to be held accountable also, so we can help you move forward and get the things done that you want to get done.
Awesome. And I'll say this as my last tip. Be brave if you can, and share what you're working on with people around you, because then it's really going to start to change. It's like manifesting in a way. So if you're working on something with Greg around your confidence or your presentation skills, to go to your boss and say, oh, I just wanted you to know I'm working with a leadership coach around my presentation skills because I want to get better at that. What that does is that puts a little note in your boss's mind of like, wow, she's really taking the initiative, or, I should give her some opportunities to show her presentation skills. So now you're just getting more opportunity, or you're just sharing them with your friends. Like, hey, I'm working on this with a coach. Then that friend is going to be a good accountability partner and be like, tell me more about that. What's going on? And then it just has more of a chance to grow. So everybody can kind of become your coach because you're leading it. You're leading that process.
Lead your own learning.
Yes. I love it. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today. I love talking about this topic, and I love talking about it with Coach Shamie. We'll have you back, I know, on some future episodes as we start to really look at, like, if you're coaching others, how you can get better and better at that. So thanks, Coach.
Hey, thanks, Christine. What a pleasure. And wishing everybody a great rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast producer, Richard Francisco. Check out our notes for any details. And if you get anything out of this, please follow us. And if you enjoy it, please take a moment to rate us or write a comment. It will mean the world to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you just can't get enough, follow me on TikTok and check out tlpnyc.com/podcast for more information.